Battle Barn. We're getting ready for another video battle report, 1500 points. Eldar versus Copper Dragons using Blood Angel Codex. We rolled up, we're going to do two missions. Primary is going to be Cap and Control, with Annihilation as a secondary mission. We got Pitched Battle Deployment Zone. For the Eldar, I'm running a 9-man jet bike squad with 3 shuriken cannons, with a Warlock with Singing Spear and Embolden. Attached to them is a Farseer with Runes of Warding, Spirit Stones, Jet Bike, Fortune, and Guide. And then we have another identical jet bike squad, 9 guys, 3 cannons, Warlock with Embolden, and Farseer with all the same war gear except for he has a Singing Spear. Got 5 Fire Dragons and a Wave Serpent with Spirit Stones and Bright Lances. And in reserves we got 8 Dire Avengers with an Exarch with Blade Storm and 10 Warp Spiders, Exarch with the Power Blades, the dual Spinnerat Rifles. Alright, for the Copper Dragons we got a Librarian with Jump Pack with Smite and Shield of Sanguinius. We got 5 Stern Guard with 2 Heavy Flamers and 3 Combi Meltas. We got 5 more of them in a Rhino, the one behind the Dreadnought. Got Dreadnought Multi-Melta Heavy Flamer. 2 10-man tactical squads in Rhinos.
Combi Melta, Melta, and Multi-Melta.
Combi Melta, Melta, Multi-Melta. Got 2 outflanking Ball Predators. And 2 land speeders that'll be deep striking. So, alright, and I will see if Tim can seize. And he cannot. So we'll be back at the end of turn 1. Okay, so end of Eldar for turn 1. Jet bikes moved up. This squad actually moved up to there, shot at the Stern Guard, killed 2 of the Combi Meltas. They passed the leadership. And then in the coward phase, I jumped back. These guys just moved up behind the hill, and the Wave Serpent moved flat out up to there. So we'll be back at the end of Copper Dragons 1. Okay, end of Copper Dragons turn 1. This Rhino moved up here and popped smoke, going flat out. These 2 Rhinos flat out over to here. One popped smoke, the other did not. The Librarian moved up and joined the Stern Guard squad. The Dreadnought moved over here, attempted to shoot at the jet bikes, but was out of range. And that's it, so we'll be back at the end of Eldar 2. End of Eldar turn 2. Things went pretty good there so far. Wave Serpent moved up here, fired everything at that Rhino, but failed to do any damage. Dire Avengers came in from reserves, moved up and ran to there. This jet bike squad moved up behind this rock, fired at the Rhino over there, got through the smoke with 2 glancing hits, managed to weapon destroy and take off the Stormbolter, or weapon destroy the Stormbolter and immobilize it. And this jet bike squad moved up to here and exploded that Rhino, killing 2 of the Marines inside, who then also failed their pinning check. So we'll be back at the end of Copper Dragons turn 2. See how that goes. Alright, we're back at the end of Copper Dragons turn 2. 1 Flame Storm came in, it outflanked over here. Killed 2 of the Dire Avengers. The Land Speeder Squadron also arrived from reserves. Deep struck. Tried there, scattered back to there, still managed to explode the Wave Serpent, killing 2 Fire Dragons in the process, who passed their pinning check and their leadership check at the end of the phase. This Rhino moved up here with the Stern Guard in it, went flat out and popped smoke. They did nothing, because they're pinned. They did nothing, because they don't have range. Dreadnought moved and ran up to here and popped smoke. And in the shooting phase, this Rhino remobilized itself. Yay! So, and that's it for the Copper Dragons turn 2. We'll be back at the end of Eldar 3. Okay, we're back at the end of Eldar turn 3. The Dire Avengers just moved up to hide from the tactical squad Rhino over there. Meanwhile, these jet bikes moved up here, failed to penetrate the front armor with the thrown Singing Spear, but then assaulted the Ball Predator. And the Farseer managed to immobilize it at initiative 5, then the Warlock at initiative 4 managed to stun and shake it. And now we're all bunched up nicely for the other Predator to come in. This Jetbike squad moved up and got 2 penetrating hits and 1 glancing hit against this Rhino, but he made all 3 smoke saves. Fire Dragons moved out of their crater, shot at the land speeders, wrecked 1, whilst this Farseer broke off from the Jetbike squad, moved up and exploded the other one. So, and then we just kind of jumped back here a little bit. And now we're on to Copper Dragon's turn 3. We'll see if that Ball Predator comes on and causes some serious havoc. Okay, end of Copper Dragon's turn 3. This was a pretty good turn for them. The second Ball Predator came in and outflanked right where he wanted it to. Smoked all of the Shuriken Catapult jet bikes from this squad, but I managed with fortune to make all my other saves. Stern Guard moved up over here. 2 Heavy Flamers wiped out the Dire Avengers. The Warp Splaters, who showed up last turn and forgot to shoot, lost 4 members to combined shooting from the Stern Guard and the Tactical Squad. The Dreadnought and Librarian moved up over here. And that was it. And then in Assault, after the jet bikes passed morale, the Farseer managed to explode the Ball Predator they were in combat with, and no casualties were taken in the explosion. So we'll be back at the end of Eldar turn 4 to see how that goes. Okay, back at the end of Eldar 4, Fire Dragons moved and ran to there. Yay. This Jetbike squad jumped up, killed 1 of the Heavy Flamer and 2 of the Combi Bolter Stern Guard from that squad, who passed morale. Warp Spiders over here, killed a couple of Stern Guard in there, who passed morale, and then jumped back towards the corner. This squad managed to only shake the Ball Predator here in shooting. However, they did manage to assault it and wreck it. And that is it for Eldar 4. So we'll be back at the end of Copper Dragons 4 to see how that goes. Alright, end of Copper Dragons 4. Stern Guard jumped back in their ride, moved up here. Stormbolter shot at the jet bikes, failed to do anything. The Tactical Squad inside here fired a Melta and Combi Melta at the jet bike squad. Both missed. The Dreadnought killed 1 with his multi-Melta, however. And then the Librarian assaulted in there. After failing smite but did not take a peril, she assaulted in. The Farseer managed to cause 1 wound on him, and then he hit all 4 against the Jetbike squad, but could not manage to cause a wound, but passed his morale after losing combat by 1. Over here, the Stern Guard moved up and fired their AP3 shots from their bolt pistols and killed 2 spiders. The Tactical Squad there moved up but failed to gain range. And that's everything for Copper Dragon's turn 4, so we'll be back at the end of Eldar turn 5. Okay, end of Eldar turn 5. Jet bikes here moved up and wrecked the Rhino here. It's still there, we just moved it for the assault. So I assaulted in, and we drew combat. Over here, we drew combat. Here, the Warp Spiders jumped over here, shot at the Stern Guard, caused 6 wounds, and he made all 6 armor saves, and then they jumped farther over here. And then the Fire Dragons moved and ran because they have high hopes of getting back in this game at some point. So we're back at the end of Copper Dragon's turn 5. See how that goes. Okay, in Copper Dragon's turn 5, the Stern Guard and the Dreadnought here moved up, and with combined fire from the Tactical Squad, they managed to wipe out the Warp Spiders in shooting. And then that was all the shooting. In Assault, this squad of jet bikes won combat against the Stern Guard 1-0, but the Stern Guard passed morale and is in there hanging out. Meanwhile, over here, the Librarian killed 1 jet bike, but then fell to the Warlock's Witchblade, and I consolidated 4 inches this way. So now we'll roll to see if it went on. Since I went first, I'll roll first. So continue on a 3-up. The game goes on to turn 6. Alright, Eldar turn 6. Fire dragons moved and ran to here. This combat, nothing happened. It was a silly sissy fight. And in this combat, I blew up the rhino in shooting and then assaulted the tactical squad inside. I won combat by 1. They broke, but I caught them in sweeping advance and they failed their 1 no retreat wound and were locked in, still contesting the objective. I needed them to run. Alright, we'll be back at the Copper Dragons turn 6. See how it goes. The tacticals there took some pot shots at the fire dragons, caused 1 wound, but I made my save. Meanwhile, the stern guard moved up onto the balcony, used their heavy flamers to pop up some popcorn and watch the show. Down here, the sissy slap fight continued, no wounds caused. We just sat there. However, over here, the dreadnought moved up, charged into the assault. He managed to kill the warlock, but not before the Farseer killed 2 of the tacticals. And the warlock also knocked off the dreadnought close combat weapon. The tacticals then failed morale and fell back. So that is it for the end of Copper Dragon's turn 6. And do the honors to see if we continue. Which we continue. So we'll be back at the end of turn 7. Alright, Eldar, turn 7. Fire dragons moved up just to keep these guys running. In assault, the Farseer landed 2 hits, but then rolled Snake Eyes to 10. Dreadnought wounded the jet bike, but he made his save. And again, we are drawn in this combat. So, we'll be back at the end of Copper Dragon 7. Stay tuned for the stunning conclusion. Okay, so end of Copper Dragon's turn 7. The jet bikes finally won the sissy slap fight and consolidated onto the objective, giving me 1, and the Copper Dragons have 1. So we're drawn on capture and control, and we need to calculate kill points to see what happens. Over here, the Farseer managed to knock off the multi-melt off the dreadnought, but otherwise combat is just locked in. So we'll add up kill points and see how this turns out. Alright, so after adding everything up, kill points was fairly decisive for the Eldar with an 8-3 win, but man, he had me on the ropes. He played great. I just got lucky when I really needed to. So, great game, Tim. And check out Tim's blog at
Tales of Fire and Ice at blogspot.com.
Tales of Fire and Ice at .blogspot.com, in case you didn't hear that.